Well, first of all, in several ways, I want to associate myself with my good friend from Illinois. Luis, I'm 1 month, 9 days older than you, but that doesn't mean that there's any real difference in us as baby boomers. We are going to exit the scene, and I don't want to exit the scene without resolving a immigration problem that predated my entrance and the gentleman's entrance into Congress. That group of disruptions really didn't understand my politics. I do believe we can get to a substantial, if not complete, immigration reform bill, and I hope after 12 years on this committee of trying to get there, it's my fervent hope that this is that window of opportunity. I do have some concerns from earlier. Mr. Tittlebaum, I want to associate myself with Ms. Lofgren. I heard you say basically that we should grow different crops in California as a resolution to needing labor that we can't seem to find. Is that pretty well correct?
No, what I'm saying is that farmers and employers in general make decisions incrementally over time based upon the availability of labor at what price.
Absolutely.
And so we have allowed a system to evolve in which those farmers who have made those decisions based on that assumption are dependent on that continuing flow of labor. That's the nature of both temporary worker programs and undocumented.
Well, I want to challenge that for a moment. As a Californian, I was there in '86 when the law changed, and I've seen my farmers, some that I represented in the past, some that I still represent, flowers, tomatoes, strawberries, and then my wife's home up in Salinas County, Monterey County. Literally the lettuce the majority of all lettuce comes from that one county. Majority of all lettuce in America comes from that one county. If we simply say that we can't have labor to pick that and that we need to make other decisions, it's fertile land. You're absolutely right. We'll grow something else, and we will import our lettuce from another country. If the real question is, do we have an effective program that gives opportunity to people outside the U.S. to come to the United States, work for a period of time, and periodically return home in a non-immigrant, in a migrant way? If we have an ineffective program, and we could have an effective program, and I think that's the real question. In the 90s, when you were studying this, you were studying it at a time in which the problem had been fixed and it was getting rebroken as we spoke. You had migrant labor who had become, under the '86 law, permanent, and they were beginning to either be in the management ranks of agriculture, or they were leaving agriculture, and that's pretty understandable. But isn't it true in the 90s, true today, that there are tens of millions of people outside the U.S. who would stand in line to get good paying, by their standards, migrant jobs here in America, and would do so under a set of rules that were fair to them and fair to us?
If they were fair, that's a big if, of course, because temporary worker programs generally have not had that character. And then I would suggest—
Well, let me challenge that, because, you know, I want a successful resolution, and I believe a successful resolution is, one, deal with people already here in an appropriate and comprehensive way. Two, obviously empower us to bring in the people who add to our economy. And three, deal with low-skilled jobs that in many cases, if people come to this country, they do them for a short period of time. Is our standard today supposed to be an American wage for an American job, or, and I want to go to Mr. Wadawa, or should it be a wage which is completely fair and greater than the wage someone would find in their home country for coming here, and sufficient for them to not only earn a living, but also go home with more money? And if that's the standard, then isn't that an achievable standard where it's a win-win? We can get our crops dealt with in a decent way, they can be better off for it, and we can have a flow of labor for that one portion that, in fact, would not be subject to chain migration.
The commission recommendation said that that was an attractive goal, but not possible to achieve, number one.
Oh, no, wait
Number
a
two,
second.
you
Not,
might want to-
not possible to achieve. I'll go back to my premise, and I want to be quick. My premise was that we pay more than they would find in their home country, but not necessarily what we're paying today with all the rules under the ag program of H2A.
The other thing, Congressman, you might want to look at is the backlogs that have been generated that have lots of people who are not particularly skilled waiting. They're entitled in some sense to a visa, but they're in the backlog. You
Okay,
might
well,
want to look at them
I
as
hear that you
preferential.
say it couldn't be done then and it wasn't going to work, but I work with Mr. Berman on this committee believing that it could. Is anyone that has a different opinion there that would like to comment on the ability to take care of that one portion in a way in which Ms. Lofgren and I could see crops that, in fact, people want to eat be grown?
If you look at Canada, Canada has made the guest worker program work very well. For low-skilled labor, that is not a bad solution. That's actually a good solution. For high-skilled labor, you can't do that because you want the high-skilled workers.
We want them here
to stay and
permanently,
start companies and
absolutely.
so on.
Thank you. Anyone else? Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate your indulgence.